Hello and welcome to Twisted Metal 2. This was released on Halloween of 1996, even though it's a Christmas game, less than a year after its predecessor. When the first Twisted Metal was in development, Singletrack strongly suspected that it was going to be a flop. So when it was hugely successful upon release, they got right to work making this. And let me tell you, they did some good work in that short period of time. The first evidence we're going to see that their work paid off is going to be an opening cutscene, done in a fancy new style. Oh, and I said Darkseid is never going to return again. There is its only appearance in this game, broken down in the background of this one screen. You hate to see it happen. Anyway, story time.
My name is Calypso. Exactly 1 year ago on Christmas Eve, my Twisted Metal contest destroyed the City of Angels. Down below, life has come to a halt as survivors struggle to stay alive.
Calypso, what have you done? What have you done?
With the city awash in flame, and nothing left to destroy, I face a dilemma. Where will this year's Twisted Metal contest take place? 14 of the world's best combat drivers have already been chosen, ready to battle to the death in hopes of becoming the victor and claiming whatever prize their brave hearts desire. But where will the contest be held? The world will be my battleground. Paris, Hong Kong, even Antarctica. There will be no safe zones this year, no places to hide. In the next 24 hours, the entire world will know my name. They will see my beautiful work of art firsthand. No one will be safe. I promise you that. Good luck, driver. Welcome to Twisted Metal.
All the cutscenes in this game take the form of faintly moving cartoons, almost like comic books brought to life. Barely. They're all super low resolution, which makes them reminiscent of the pirated MTV cartoons that I definitely watched in the mid-2000s. I find it charming, however unintentional it may be. We'll see another cutscene at the end of this video, but for now it's time to meet our contestants. There's a lot of newcomers in this contest, but there are 4 from last year that are missing. Those would be Darkseid, Pit Viper, Crimson Fury, and Yellowjacket. And I feel like there's one other I'm not seeing. Some iconic breakout Twisted Metal character whose face is in the logo for the game. Oh yeah, Sweet Tooth! You can't play as Sweet Tooth unless you input a code. So right now I'm pressing up L1 triangle right. Remember that because that's important. And doing so gives us access to our driver for this video. Certainly a bold choice to leave Needles Kane of all characters out of the default roster. But here he is in all his flaming headed glory. His prize upon victory will be to haunt me, it looks like. Little does he know, he already does haunt me, but he wants to make it official. And his stats are pretty standard for most incarnations of Sweet Tooth. Special weapon is a little underrated at 3 stars, but we'll see why. The gimmick of this year's competition is that it will take place across the globe, but it still begins in the site of the previous contest. What remains of Los Angeles, that is. It's still a mess from our last visit, but I'm sure it'll be even worse when we're done here. Still want to get the lay of the land while we look for an opponent. And unfortunately that opponent happens to be Axel. The famous Wheelman has made his series debut, and he's gonna leave a lasting impression. He's particularly powerful in this incarnation. I kind of figured it out and weakened him in most future games, but for now, that special his will bounce anyone way the hell away. It's pretty ridiculous. And it becomes especially clear against him that AI vehicles have infinite uses of all weapons. So the fact that I just actually bumped Axel physically is an extreme rarity. I may never do that again. He just doesn't like to be touched. And I'm coming fresh off of the first game, where ramming is the best option always. So it's taken me some time to learn to keep my distance. They did manage to figure out collision this time around. So while ramming is still very effective, it won't insta-kill most enemies, as well as yourself. See, a missile did that. No impact required. Sweet Tooth here is a secret character for a reason. Partially a plot reason, I think. We'll get to that later. But he is slightly, though perceptibly, more powerful than all the basic characters. And it's because of that special I just used. The vehicle itself is just a regular vehicle. But the special is the napalm cone from the first game, which means it does a lot of damage, sends enemies flying. It now moves in a weird sine wave pattern, so it takes a lot longer to get to enemies, but to make up for that, it's homing. So Sweet Tooth has a homing power missile as his special. But even that is not what makes it broken, because it's just a really good special. Plenty of cars have really good specials. By the way, this is a weird thing that took me a long time to figure out, but there's this weird power generator here with 4 nodes at the bottom that are feeding it power. Every time you break one of the nodes, you get a new pickup, which doesn't make any logical sense, but it gives you a lot of weapons once you figure it out. Anyway, what takes Sweet Tooth special for being just really good to totally broken is the fact that he can carry as many as 5 of them, so they never really go to waste. And they regenerate very quickly. As quickly as the worst specials in this game. Which means you've always got enough of his very powerful, easy to hit with special on hand to kill or, at the very least, really mess up any car that happens to be in front of you. You could reasonably never pick up any weapon, just rely on the special exclusively, and you do pretty well for yourself. There is one thing that balances that, but we'll get to it after this secret of sorts. Inside this little cage is an environmental weapon attack and a health pickup. A new addition to this game, even though it should have been obvious from the first game. But that was no ordinary health pickup, that was a full health pickup, which I believe looks identical to all other health pickups, but completely heals you up. Instantaneous, unlike the recharge stations of the first game. It's a pretty solid improvement. And if you're still hurting after you've collected all the health in the level, you can just go crush some pedestrians. Killing 10 heals you about the equivalent of 1 small health pickup. They've added a strategic incentive to killing people. Right now I'm setting up a little trick. Get near the generator, set up my shield, and use the environmental attack after someone comes to fight me. That way I don't get hurt by the environmental attack, even though I get hit by it. But boy did the enemy ever get hurt. Killed them outright. After 2 or 3 uses, but that's still substantial damage. And it showed off the use of the new energy bar, which is right above our weapon there. Just had to press up, up, right, and I went invincible for a few seconds, at the cost of a little bit of that energy bar, which then regenerates. So, great new addition, been a staple of the series ever since. Means you're never truly without ammo, unless you go through all of your energy. which takes some doing. I'm not good at using the energy moves myself. They require sometimes very long strings of directional inputs, and they throw off your steering the whole time. I'm trying to do the new jump move there, but I failed it so many times that I just clipped over the edge that I was trying to jump over. Energy also provides yet another opportunity for healing, in that if you have a full bar and you press a whole ton of directions in the right order, you can trade your entire bar plus all the weapons you're carrying, and it will refill your health to full. You'll be defenseless and you have to go stock up again. But if you're Sweet Tooth, you'll be full of ice cream in no time, and ready to kill again. God, that special's so good. And up here on one of the above-ground tunnels is a teleporter that sends you straight to the secret area with the full health refill that hasn't respawned yet. And you want to keep Sweet Tooth's health topped off because this game has the same save system that the first game did, which is you can't save at all. In order to keep your progress, you have to use passwords. And your life count, kept just above our health bar there, doesn't recover between levels unless you use passwords. But secret characters like Sweet Tooth, they don't get passwords. In order to beat the game as one, you have to play through the entirety from beginning to end in a single sitting with only 3 lives. Lose them all and it's game over. You gotta start from this level. So Sweet Tooth is really good, but nowhere near good enough to trivialize that feat. It's really hard to get to his ending, thanks to a really antiquated system, but I think that part is semi-intentional as a way to increase the challenge of this campaign in particular. If I wanted to play through the entire game instead of just this level, I would have been playing much more carefully and slowly, and better, frankly. I am not quite used to this game's intricacies, so I could be doing a lot better, but, you know, I'm gonna make it through this level at least. And I'm gonna ruin some landmarks along the way. Turn Hollywood into Oleu. Destructible environments add so much to these levels. There's no real, like, secrets, because you can't save, so why bother unlocking anything? There's plenty of hidden stuff you can find by blowing up famous things in orgiastic fits of iconoclasm. They're very, very memorable. And we're not quite done with LA. Leave a remote mine on the bridge to our secret hiding area with the full health pickup. And then destroy that bridge. Yeah. No one will ever get that health pickup again. Good work, me? Yeah, that one's not so smart. But there's always the teleporter that can get you to that area. So no actual harm. Just a weird one. But it looks cool. Now we're about done with LA. Blew up almost all the destructibles. There's just this one spot over here we haven't taken much of a look at so far. We've been in this tunnel, but we didn't break the glass before. And there's these hot dog stands and fountains. We can destroy them all. We got these new ricochet weapons in this game. They are cartoon Acme bombs that roll around the battlefield. And if they're anything like they are in future games, they will do more damage if they bounce off something and then hit someone. But I haven't pulled that off yet, so we'll see. I'm out of turbo, which doesn't happen as often as it did in the first game. There's a lot more turbo pickups available. But I'm out now, unfortunately. We'll have to get by at this speed for a while we take out the last enemy, Outlaw 2. Because the first Outlaw got sent to space. that is somehow a canonical ending. There are multiple canonical endings from the first game that return here, even though there can be only one winner of the contest. The continuity immediately breaks down in this series. They never even attempt to explain or acknowledge how it happens, so whatever. Just not gonna think about it too hard. And use what remains my armaments to kill Outlaw without dying myself. That nets us our first victory of the game. And in keeping with that thing I do in these LPs, we'll now be giving Sweet Tooth his wish.
Sweet Tooth, winner of the Twisted Metal contest, was granted an audience with the founder of the competition. I had agreed to grant the winner any prize they requested. There would be no limits on price, size, or in this case, even reality. Sweet Tooth told me he wanted to live out his greatest fantasy, to become a bug in a tiny little garden out in the country. It would be a life of relaxation and love, a life of peace, a final escape from his madness. The night sky exploded with light. And when the light faded, Sweet Tooth had gotten his wish. For the rest of his days, he enjoyed his new life in the garden, away from all those who would tell him he was crazy. The other insects were not fans of their new neighbor, for he had a tendency to kill them. Oh, but Sweet Tooth was happy, and whenever he got lonely for human companionship, or for human flesh, all he had to do was look up and dream of the day when he would crawl out of the garden and back into the world of man. Oh, I am Calypso, and I thank you for playing Twisted Metal.
The Kafkaesque nightmare of turning into a bug is Sweet Tooth's greatest dream. I mean, same. It just doesn't seem like a very Needles-Cane thing to me. But, you know, far be it for me to tell David Jaffe what he can and can't do with his murder-sona. At least it's a lot less lol random than his ending in the first game. But it's still a non sequitur that doesn't lead to anything, unlike all the other endings we're going to see in this LP. The 7 remaining stories I'm going to show off all have some relevance to Twisted Metal head-on. That will leave behind a handful of endings that I won't get to show off, so I'm just going to provide links to those instead. And unfortunately, that continues to include my favorite car, Mr. Grimm. His ending from the first game didn't count because he ended up killing Calypso, but it did reveal that he's the literal Grim Reaper of this universe. So I'll let you see where that plot leads him in this outing.